So for this, you're not going to use a lot of color because this canvas is dark and it's going to show color so much better. So we'll just grab a teeny tiny bit of yellow. Very small amount. You don't need a lot of this at all. It's better to have too little than to have too much because you can always go back and add on, and it is very difficult to take it off. Alright, so just load that up. And now we're going to use the corner of the brush. We're just going to kind of like push it up and make little tree shapes. You're going to just do it real loose, just kind of scrub them in. This is almost just not even thinking about what you're doing. You're just kind of scrubbing. Very, very easy to do. And what you really want to try to concentrate on is getting this outer edge to be somewhat solid. This way it'll look like that's the edge of your trees way off in the distance. But just kind of let your brush bounce around and do what it wants to do. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. If you really wanted to, you could get like real abstract and just kind of mash your brush on there and then just blend it all out. I gotta get my fingers back in shape for this. I just kind of scrub it in. Like I said, there's no real right or wrong way of doing this. This is just background stuff. And since we have this green as a base coat underneath, it's going to be constantly mixing with it. It'll give you all kinds of nice little colors and little gap areas and stuff like that. But you want to leave some little dark spots in there, just because it'll help to show depth when you're actually blending everything. Alright, so now I'm going to do the other side. And for me, it's easier to switch hands depending on which side I'm working on. If I'm working on the right side, I go with my right. If I'm working on the left, I go with my left. But again, you're just going to scrub this stuff in. Just kind of give it like a little flick upward. Keep them nice and loose. So we don't have a little void. Alright, so now we have that. We're just going to go blend it quick and easy. So normally when you're blending stuff, you're going to go left to right, and it just helps kind of diffuse everything. Does green have to be wet? You definitely want it wet. I just put a very, very, very thin coat of sap green on here. Like if I touch it, you can barely see green on my finger. That's how little of paint is on here. Like it doesn't even come off. You just sit there and you just scrub it into the canvas. Just literally scrub it in. Okay, so to do this part, to blend it out, instead of going left and right, you're going to go up and down, just really, really gentle. Like you're almost not even touching the canvas when you're doing this. Basically, you don't want to feel the canvas below you. You just want to feel the paint hitting the bristles. So once you have your back blended to whatever level of brightness you want, then you go across it. Alright, so just like that, we have ourselves a nice little wooded area off in the background. So with this, you want to go in with your script liner brush, grab a bunch of paint thinner, and then go into Van Dyke Brown. You want to thin this down so it's almost like ink. And then you want to turn your bristles through this. Turn your bristles. And then when you pull it out, it comes to a nice sharp point like that. So when you're doing these, you're just going to go into like the little gap areas and just put in a couple of like little tree chunks here and there. You don't need a lot of these. You can just kind of put them wherever you think they would be. There's no real right or wrong way of doing this part either. Let's put a couple of these little guys in here. And when you're putting these in, you turn your brush while you're doing it. Like if you watch my thumb, when I get done with my stroke, it'll be up here because I'm turning it. I'm turning the brush. And then also kind of do like little bouncy up and down type movements. Like I'll try to do it like this. You see how you just kind of bounce it? It makes like little, I don't know, it just makes these little things look more realistic. Puts like little knots and stuff in them. Okay, so there. That's plenty of chunks and stuff. Alright. Now we'll do this little area right here. We're going to do that with the fan brush again. In the same color, just straight cadmium yellow. Make sure your brush is dry. Make sure your brush is dry. So the same thing. Grab some paint. And we're just going to scrub in some little bushes. Switch over to my left. I can do bushes better with my left hand. I think it's because this is my writing hand, so I have better control than with my right. For doing this kind of stuff, at least. Some over here. But I'm just scrubbing. I'm not really doing anything fancy. Alright, so now we have some little bushes. Again, for this we're going to just do really, really light up and down. It just kind of sets it back into there a little bit better. So then we'll take script liner brush, get a little bit of paint thinner on it, put in some more little sticks and twigs here and there. Just put however many little twigs you want. If you don't want any, don't put any in. If you want a lot, put a lot in. It's all up to you. So there we go. We have a couple of those in there. Alright, so now we're going to put in a little bit of land right here. We'll just use the knife for this. You don't need to use a knife. You could use a fan brush. You could use like one of these smaller filbert brushes. But I need to practice with the knife because it's been quite some time. So we'll just grab a little bit of Van Dyke, a little bit of dark sienna. Kind of pick it up, flip it over a couple times just to mix it. Pull it out really flat, and then just cut down, and you'll get a tiny roll of paint on the very top edge of the knife. So all you got to do is just go in and just kind of scrub in where your land's going to be. You'll notice at the top of the knife, try to keep that horizontal while you're doing this, because then it'll make your land look a lot better. But all you're doing is just scrubbing on color. Very, very easy to do. Just gonna kind of push it right in. Like I said, this is going to be kind of like a little swampy area. So I'm thinking, like over here we'll have some water, we'll have like a little kind of sort of dirt path coming through here. Maybe have like some over here. This will be water right here. Maybe have like a little island out there too or something. That might be kind of cool. paint. There's that. So now before we put highlights on that, we're going to go in and make little reflections everywhere. Those are really easy to do. We already have the green on the canvas, so all we got to do is just tap into a tiny bit of yellow, and then you pull straight down. When you're doing these reflections, just make sure you pull straight down. If you don't pull straight down, it's going to look a little weird. You won't like really know what it is either. You'll just kind of look at it and you're like, why does this bug me? And it'll be because instead of your water sitting flat, it'll be like kind of tilted or something. And you'll just look at it, and if you see brush strokes going diagonally on water, you look at it and it's like, that doesn't look right. Your brain will just kind of short circuit. But yeah, so you just put some yellow on. Pull straight down. And since this is kind of like a swampy area, if you grab some of this brown, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, this is probably a pretty shallow little area. Put some reflections over here. Alright, then go across. Very gentle. All you're doing here is you're just trying to move the paint. You're not trying to blend it, you're just trying to move it and take the brush strokes out. Alright, so there's our little reflections. Now we'll go back in and touch up our land area. So again, just both of the browns mixed together. Pull it out super flat. Cut across, get your little roll of paint. And we'll just start putting some more color in. And don't worry about getting tough with this canvas. You're not going to hurt this canvas. When you're doing the knife, you're almost like having it laying up against the canvas. You want your knife to be almost vertical while you're doing it. You don't want to like try to do it with your knife like this. It won't work. It has to be almost straight up and down. Alright, let's put a little bit of highlight on that. So to do that, just take some white and put it into your two browns. And when you're mixing it up, kind of leave it marbled like that. Because what it does is when you cut your little roll of paint, all those different colors are right there on the edge of the knife. So here, this is kind of like putting snow on the mountains. You do it super duper gentle. It's almost better if you have to go over it a couple times, that you did it so light. You just want to try to let this light break across it. So again, you're basically trying to not touch the canvas and just touch the paint. Super, super light. And if you want, you can just kind of bounce your hand back and forth. Pull that out. Alright, let's go over here. Same thing. Another tip for you, if you can't get your paint to break how you want it to, there's a couple of different ways you can apply it. You can do just like little touches where you just touch the canvas and it'll kind of take off what it wants to, and then you just go back and keep tapping it to work it in. But if you are going to get into this style of painting, you should definitely try to force yourself to do some knife work. The knife work stuff can be somewhat intimidating to people just because, you know, it's a lot easier to use a brush. Alright, so now we're going to go around here. We're going to cut in some water lines. But instead of using white, I'm just going to use yellow. And I think I'm probably just going to put this on with the knife. So, same thing, just grab some yellow. Pull it out nice and flat. As flat as you can get it. Get your little roll of paint, and then you're just gonna touch. So this could look like little algae floating out there or whatever. But you're just touching. Canvas will take what it wants. Let's do this side. Here. Put some over here. Kind of pull this right across, make it look like it's a little bit shallower over there. Alright, so now we got that whole part done. I think what I'll do is I'll put, I don't know, I kind of want to put like an island right here, but I don't know, what do I want to do? Let's let's grab some brown. Let's try this over here. Kind of enclose this. Pull this. So I think I'm going to put some more stuff up on the water. Like up in the little middle part here. Let's put some little yellow deals on here. This kind of algae is called duckweed. I think that's what it's called. I want to have some bushy stuff over here. Some bushes. Going to yellow. Grab a little bit of green. A little sap green. Trying to get that pushed in over there. Keep changing hands. Let's put all kinds of little grassy things in here. Kind of makes it look like this is more like a contained path, I guess you could call it. Looking good on stream? Yeah, looks good on stream. Alright, so here, I mean, we could make this part water. Or we can make it land or whatever. Let's see, what should we do? If we make this water, let's make the left side water. Let's go into green, yellow. So wherever you want reflection, just grab it and pull down. The nice thing about this painting style is if you don't like how something's going, you can just change it on the fly. Like, let's say you were doing something over here and you messed up. I don't know. Let's just go like this. Like, oops, I messed up, you know? So if you do something like that, just turn it into a reflection. Just pull straight down. That's it. And since we already have that green on there, it's gonna blend with this yellow that we're putting on. Oh, here's a little trick for you. Let me get some more of this again. Okay. Here's a little trick. If you want something to look further back, just pull part of the reflections down further. Pull this side out further, pull this side down further. So what that does is it makes it look like this is like a little cove and this has stuff coming out around it. It's just a little trick. Alright, so now we have that. Let's go back in with some white. I can show you how to do the highlight stuff with the fan brush now, since we already did it once with the, what's it called? The knife. Gotta grab a little titanium white for this. You want to thin down your white just a little bit, not much. Because we already have some pretty thick paint on here, and in this style a thin paint will paint over a thick paint. So then you're just going to want to go figure out where your little coastline is and just barely touching, just kind of scrub. So just straight white. Just kind of gives you a little water line right there. We can go back to the yellow color. It's now more of like a green color, but whatever, it'll still work. Grab a little roll of paint. Just touch here and there to put some more little algae things floating out in the water. There's our little things floating on the surface. Okay, good. It's good still. Yes, this is time for big decisions. So, if this is going to be water, we can put land right here. We can put land right here. I don't want land. I'll go right here first. Just kind of want to put some little bushy things right here. Just kind of break up this little line. Alright, so you guys ready to do a big old tree? I think we'll put some land right here. Let's use the knife. That's because I gotta get used to using the knife again. So we'll grab some Van Dyke, dark sienna, mix it up, pull it out nice and flat. Some paint. And just kind of lay some in. There's no real right or wrong way of putting this stuff on. If you want to use a brush, you can use a brush. It might be easier for you. All we're doing is just putting color on right now. We just need this dark base coat. Oh, screw it, I am going to use a brush. It's so much easier to use a brush on that. There we go. Now we have our little land area. So, let's put in some little background, like a back layer of bushes. So this is just all about layers. Layer, 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 layer. So I'm going to put some back bushes on here, and then we'll go back in and put on the big trees, and then we'll put bushes in front. I'm going to have to mix, or not mix, but I need to grab a little more yellow. Man, you used a lot of yellow on this one. Alright, so now, a nice clean fan brush. Grab some yellow. Well, get a little bit of green too. This stuff's a little bit closer, so it'll have a little bit more detail to it. This is the same thing. You're just going to be pushing upward, corner of the brush. And just kind of scrub stuff in. You're barely touching the canvas when you're doing this. Let that just go right down into the nothingness. Alright, so now we're going to do a couple big trees. A fan brush. Get that all nice and clean. Before we do that though, I need to clean my knife, grab some white, and put a little bit of highlight on this. Not a lot, just enough. So you can just kind of make out that there's some land. But yeah, so when you're doing that, to make your paint break, again, you're almost holding it like horizontal to the canvas. Almost. Alright, so actually, we can go back in here and scratch in a couple little sticks and twigs and stuff. So what's real nice about these dark canvases is that you don't need to paint in any of like these little things. All you do is you just scratch through down to the black canvas, and there they are. And you can put however many of these things you want. When I do them, I do like little itty bitty C shapes instead of just going like straight up and down. It just makes it look a little bit better. And then just go back in with some of your color just to cover up little bits and pieces of them. Mainly like down by where it meets the path. Now we'll do a nice big tree or two. Alright, we use the number 6 brush for this, I guess. Nothing wrong with this one. Alright, so this you're going to get a lot of paint onto your brush. That's like the number 1 rule when you're doing trees, is you need to have a ton of paint. Because these browns are super, super thick. Just take both the browns, mix them together. There we go. Alright, grab our fan brush. You want to really load this thing up. And when you're pulling it through, if you wiggle it back and forth, let me try to hold this up right, like that. If you wiggle it while you're pulling it out, it pulls the paint down to the tips of the bristles. So after you do that, you go through just a couple times on each side to make it nice and sharp. See how everything is like in a nice little row? So then you're just going to figure out where you want a tree to be. I'm thinking right here is a good spot. And so as you start going down, put more pressure. You can put little twists and bends and do little back and forth jerky movements. It'll make it look a lot more realistic. Because trees don't grow like telephone poles. If you have a little forest and everything looks like a phone post, you're not going to be happy. Alright, let's give this guy a friend. A nice big friend. But yeah, just kind of let your brush wander around and get in there and push it in and twist and turn it. It's a good looking tree right there. Then you're just going to go back in and kind of just touch up some of the little spots it has. Little streakies or whatever. You don't have to worry about it too much because we're going to put highlight on this and kind of blend everything together. But for me, I kind of have a little advantage when it comes to painting trees. For those of you that don't know, I used to have my own tree care business. I was a climber, meaning I would climb up in the trees with a chainsaw strapped around me. I'd go up there and cut away all the dead stuff. Or stuff that was about to fall on someone's house. Alright, so there's our rough tree right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab a little bit of white. Is this clean or dirty? It's clean now. Alright, so we're going to go into white. You don't need a lot of this, but grab some liquid white as well. Alright, so just figure out which way you want your highlight to be coming from. We'll say that the light source is over here. So on the left is where you're going to want to put your highlights. So just barely touching. You can actually just kind of tap your brush onto here. You don't want a lot of paint, really. You just want enough. Like that. And then this way, we'll go back in and just kind of tap it. Just keep tapping it, and it'll automatically blend with the brown that's on there. And it'll just kind of diffuse itself. That's really all you're doing right here. You just want to have a little bit of highlight on that side. So let's put some right here. Go down here onto its little roots. Some happy little feet. Alright, so there's our tree. Now we gotta put some branches on it, which will be pretty easy. Alright, so for the branches, I'm just going to use the script liner brush. Go into your brown. Just get it nice and thin. Oh, I forgot that I bought linseed oil. I should be using linseed oil right now. Dang it. I forgot I bought that. Yeah. Pull it out so it's nice and sharp. And we're just going to go in and here and there put some little branchy deals on here. And if you have problems with the paint sticking, just put some more paint thinner on it. That'll take care of it for you. Got a nice little burl right there. If you guys don't know what a burl is, it's basically like a tumor on a tree. And they are worth a fortune. Burl wood is a good money maker. You see how if like you let it kind of bounce, you get little, I don't even know what you would call them. It'd be like the little joints on branches. Let's put some stuff up here. A couple little pokey outy things. That is the technical name for them, pokey outies. But just here and there. You don't need a lot of these. So, if you want to have some of them stand out even more, you can go into some liquid white. Just put a little highlight on some of them. I mean, you don't need to do this, but I just want to show you how to do it. So, alright. Turn the brush. Turn, turn, turn. Go back in and tap it to bring it all together. Alright, so there's that. Can you see those little highlights? Man, you can't really see them, but maybe at the end when I hold the camera up closer, you'll be able to see them. Alright, so now we're gonna put on these leaves right here, and then that'll be it. Alright, so for this part, we're gonna mix yellow with a little bit of yellow ochre. I think that's about it. I could put some like dark stuff behind it first. Actually, no, yeah, let's do that. Just so you guys can see how it's done. Just grab any brush, really, any of the small brushes. I'm going to use this round brush. This is a 1-inch round. You see how the bristles round up at top? The nice thing about this brush is that it'll automatically do little clumps of leaves. So it's almost like you have to do nothing. Quite easy. Alright, so we'll just tap some stuff here and there. I don't really want a whole bunch of leaves on here. These are swamp trees. They're not super leafy. But if you want your trees to be super duper leafy, make your trees super duper leafy. The good thing about painting is you can do whatever you want. That's what's really nice. So right there. Alright, that's good for that. Now we're going to go in and put highlights on it. And we'll just use the same brush. There we go, nice and dry. I just beat it against the bottom of my easel and it gets all the excess paint thinner out of it. You could probably, dry it on a paper towel if you wanted to or whatever. Hey, what's up, mouse? What's up, buddy? Alright, so here we're just gonna go right into some cad yellow. Let's grab a little paint thinner too. Or not paint thinner, but yellow ochre. Or yellow ochre. Some liquid white. Jeez. Alright, but you want to get a decent amount of paint in the bristles. Because for this part, all you're going to do is just touch. You're not even going to push. You're just going to touch. And you want to go slightly above the dark. See? Just like that. Quick and easy. But don't cover up all the dark that you just put on. If you do that, it'll make it look really, really flat. You won't like it. You'll look at it and you'll just say, this doesn't look right. But just make sure you have a lot of paint on here, because you're not pushing, you're just touching. The canvas will take off what it wants. And a good way to do like clumps of leaves and stuff, start at the top, do like the outer edge first, and then just do a couple taps in the middle, and it'll automatically make it look like it's a round clump. Let's go over here and do this tree. Well, you see how like I do a rounded part and then I go into the middle? Hopefully you can see that good. Okay, yeah, you can kind of see it. So you do a little round, underneath it, and in the middle. It's maybe, you know, like 5 or 6 touches per little clump. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. But don't just hit at random. If you just go in and hit at random, you won't like your results. Yeah, it looks like you can see it on stream pretty well. Alright, so now we got to put some little bushes down here, and we already got a nice dirty brush. So just pull it in one direction. You can see how the top edge is curved down. You want to put that side up, and then when you're touching, you're going to touch and push up. But you don't want the bristles to slide. You just kind of want to make it bend. Just like that. And then you can turn your brush sideways, you can turn it vertical, you can do 45s. They'll all create different shapes depending on which way you're touching. Alright, where's my script liner brush? Grab the script liner, go into some of the browns. I'm just going to put some little sticks and twigs coming up. If you want, you can just scratch through because you already have a black canvas. knife. And do a couple little scratchy things. Back in and just kind of cover up some of those things you just scratched in. You don't want to see all of them. Alright, I think that's a finished painting. Alright, so let me